Alright, in this problem, this man is taking you up to the top of a building to show you a physics property where, everything that goes up must come down. He is taking your math book and throwing it straight up into the air, and the distance of the book can be modeled by the equation given. So when the book strikes the ground, what is the value of s? Since it says s is the distance above the ground, when it hits the ground, s equals 0. Okay? We need to write the equation that we need to solve for when the book hits the ground. It's going to be 0 equals, because we replaced the s with 0, negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 32. Okay, so we can solve this using a numerical or graphical approach. There is an algebraic technique for this case that's pretty good. It's called the zero product property, and it's where if we multiply two things together and it equals 0, then one of them has to equal 0. So we want to solve these equations using the zero product property. So what we do is we take 3x and we set it equal to 0, and then we take x minus 2 and set it equal to 0. Then we divide to get my x by itself on the first equation, and I get x equals 0. Then on the second equation, I add 2 to both sides, and I get x equals 2. Okay, on the second one, I'm going to split it up. I have 2x minus 3 equals 0, and x plus 2 equals 0. Then I want to add 3 to both sides. I have 2x equals 3, and I want to keep solving that equation. Don't know why I started on the next one. I divide by 2, and I end up with x equals 3 halves. On my second equation, I subtract 2, and I end up with x equals negative 2. So both of these are answers to my quadratic equations. It's showing me where they are crossing the x-axis, the y-axis. Okay, same thing here. I'm going to take the x plus 2 and set it equal to 0, and the x plus 3 and set it equal to 0. I subtract 2 on the first one, and I get x equals negative 2. On the second one, I subtract 3, and I get x equals negative 3. Okay. We can rewrite an expression as a product of 2 or more terms multiplied together, and it's called factoring. When we're factoring, it's important to look for the largest factor to pull out. This is called the greatest common factor, and it can be abbreviated GCF. So, my printer did not double side for some reason on this one. This one wants me to factor the polynomials by using the greatest common factor, so I'm looking for what divides both or all 3 terms, depending on what I have. So if I take a look, I'm going to first look at my numbers. I have 9 and 18. Both of those can be divided by 9. So I'm going to write a 9 underneath. And then if I look at my variables, the smallest exponent I have is 2. So I have a squared. Okay. So what I do when I'm factoring is I write what I'm factoring out front, and then inside parentheses, I'm going to write what I get from dividing. So 9a to the 6th divided by 9a squared is 9 divided by 9 is 1. a6 divided by a to the 2 is a to the 4th. I don't need to write the 1. On 18a squared divided by 9a squared, I get 2. And a squared divided by a squared is 1, so I don't need to write that. So this is my answer for that one. On B, I'm looking for what can divide both of those. 7 and 21 are both divisible by 7. If I look at my x's, both of them just have an exponent of 1. And my y's, my smallest exponent is 1 again. So I write the y out front. Then I have 7xy, and I write that out front. And then 21 divided by 7 is 3. The x's turn into 1. And my y's, I subtract my exponents, so I have 3 minus 1, which turns into 2. On the second one, notice it's completely the same that I'm dividing by. I need to be careful when I'm doing this. I don't cancel it out and just write 0. Anything divided by itself is always 1. And then that gives me my answer. For C, 3, 21, and 33 are all divisible by 3. So I write my 3 out front. 3x squared divided by 3 is just x squared. 21x divided by 3 is 7x, and 33 divided by 3 is 11. On D, I have 4, 16, and 24. All of these numbers can be divided by 4. And then if I notice, all of them have at least one x, so I'm going to divide them all by 4x. I write the 4x out front, and then I have x squared minus 4, x, because squared, or 2 minus 1 is 1. And then I have 24 divided by 4, which is 6, and the x's turn into 1. So this is my answer.